Good evening. News just coming in. Israeli Defense Forces have destroyed the Gaza Parliament building. That's the information that's coming in from Israeli media. Israeli army has destroyed the Hamas symbol of power, and we are putting out those visuals on your television screen. Just yesterday, images of the elite Golani Brigade of the Israeli army. Those images had gone viral of Golani Brigade troops inside the Gaza Parliament. Troops of the elite Golani Brigade had put up the Israeli flag inside Gaza's seat of power in the Legislative Assembly. Israeli forces today are believed to have carried out a controlled explosion at the Gaza Parliament building, and we'll just show you those images. I'll get you more on that story. Good evening. It's a day of fast-paced developments in Israel's war on Hamas terror at the Gaza Strip. Israeli Defense Forces have sent in their Navy SEALs inside the Shifa Hospital. This happened around 2 in the morning. And for the past 12 hours and counting, they're going in from room to room, basement to basement, trying to destroy Hamas command and control structure. Have they succeeded so far? Sharon Haskell is a member of the Knesset, member of Israeli Parliament. She joins me on the special broadcast from Jerusalem. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Israeli media has put out reports saying that the Israeli forces have destroyed the symbol of Hamas' seat of power in the Gaza Strip. Israeli army combat engineers placed explosives for a controlled detonation to destroy the Gaza Parliament building. Yesterday, images of the elite Israeli Golani Brigade soldiers had gone viral after they captured the Hamas seat of power, the Parliament building in the Gaza Strip, in Gaza City. This was the room where the leaders of Hamas, including Ismail Haniyeh and Yahya Sinwar, carried out their rule, according to Israeli commentators. The Golani Brigade had sent out a very clear message by putting up Israel's flag in that room that Hamas was no longer in control of the Gaza Strip. Today, they went a step ahead. Look at those images that we are putting out on your television screen. That building has now been destroyed according to Israeli media. There, of course, is no official word from the Israeli Defense Forces or the government just as yet on why the Parliament building was destroyed. Let's take a look at that video put out in Israel. On your television screen, one of the Golani Brigade. It's an elite brigade of the Israeli Defense Forces. It's participated in every operation in Israel. It's participated in the formation of Israel 1948 operations. It's participated in 67 in the Yom Kippur War. In 1973, it's participated in almost every operation in Gaza. It's played a very, very critical role, and even now it's been one of the first formations that went inside the Gaza Strip. So on the left of your screen, you look at that image of soldiers of the Golani Brigade with the Star of David flag, the 2 horizontal blue stripes, white background, and the Star of David Israeli flag at that Parliament building. The second image is that of that building being destroyed completely. Big statement coming in from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He's stepped up his attack on Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu says there is no place in Gaza where the Israeli army cannot reach. he's made a big statement. He said that Israeli army will now eliminate every stronghold of Hamas across the Gaza Strip and will achieve complete victory. Let's listen in. I'll get you more on the story.
אתם זוכרים שאמרו לנו שלא נפרוץ לעזה?
Do you remember when we were told that we would not break into Gaza? We've broken through. There is no place in Gaza that we will not reach. There is no hiding, no shelter, no refuge for the murderers of Hamas.
בעזה שלא נגיע אליו.
We will arrive and eliminate Hamas and return our hostages.
למרצחי החמאס. אנחנו נגיע ונחסל.
Last night I spoke again with President Biden, and we are not letting go.
שתי משימות קדושות. אתמול בערב אני
We will eliminate Hamas. We will achieve a complete victory.
אנחנו נחסל את החמאס, נשיג ניצחון מוחלט.
And India Today's man on the ground, Rajesh Pawar, now joins me for more on this big story. Rajesh, take us through the day's developments. The Israeli army had reached the Shifa Hospital. They've been carrying out operations there for over 12 hours. Have they been able to locate the command and control structure of Hamas inside the Shifa Hospital? What's the latest, Rajesh?
Look, Gaurav, there is no doubt that now IDF has almost completed its operations in North Gaza, and the epicenter of all the terror of Hamas was the Shifa Hospital and the underground headquarters of Hamas there. And what IDF is claiming now, that they are in total control of Shifa Hospital. However, there's a different opinion here in Israel, which says that Israel has been able to capture the overground area of Gaza Strip, but underground Gaza is still in control of Hamas. And what goes next is probably a much bitter fight, which will be under the ground. And this is a new factor here. And let's hope that IDF is able to do that, because they are saying now that all the facilities, all the infrastructure of Hamas in North Gaza has been destroyed. Another factor which is very important is that now probably these people, the terrorists of Hamas, might have gone through this, using these tunnels into south of Gaza, which is now totally full with civilians. And how IDF will tackle them now, it remains to be seen. Gaurav.
Okay. What about these images that are going viral almost across the world of a building being destroyed, and Israeli media saying this is the Hamas seat of power, the parliament building being destroyed? Any word officially from authorities in Israel? Is this symbolic? Is there a bigger message that's being sent out?
Look, Gaurav, this is largely symbolic, because even if it is a building which houses the assembly or the Gaza parliament, as they say, it doesn't have much meaning as far as military operations are concerned, because military operations are about the tunnels, about the fortifications, about the fuel dumps, about the ammunition dumps, and other IEDs which they have placed everywhere, which now, if IDF will try to clear, will face casualties. And this is what Hamas intends it. Second thing I would like to say is, right now there's tremendous pressure on Israeli government because of the protest by the relatives of the hostages held captive by Hamas at the moment. And there's a big march going on from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which we were reporting from the spot. And I'm also here right now. There's a protester here with me who was there. And this pressure is, they're saying, do cease fire, do give them fuel what you want, do the prisoner exchange, but we want our relatives back. We do not care what the government does. And they want to just continue with this protest. And there's a big pressure on President Netanyahu right now. Prime Minister Netanyahu, sorry.
And Sharon Haskell is a member of parliament, a member of the Knesset in Jerusalem in Israel. She joins me on this special broadcast. Sharon Haskell, what can you tell us about the operations that are underway at the Shifa Hospital? A video has been put out with doctors and paramedics and patients saying they're unable to breathe because of the shelling, the fumes, the debris, the firing that's on at the hospital complex, ma'am.
Okay, so as we've seen 2 days ago when the IDF released footage from another hospital where Hamas operative and terrorists actually had their facility weapons, anti-rockets, a vest, a bomb vest for a suicide bomber. They had RPG weapons in the basement of that hospital. There are evidence that they actually held hostages in the hospital, which today, we have full proof of Hamas terrorists actually using hospitals as a cover-up. and as a shield for their operation. That's the reason why we have to go into the Shifa Hospital as well. The Shifa Hospital is a headquarters for the Hamas terrorist organization. Hamas is using it for their bunkers, for their ammunition, and probably they also have held or still hold some hostages there. This is the reason why we have to reach that Shifa Hospital.
Sharon Haskell, there are reports that seem to indicate that there are about 25 patients in critical care. There are about 20 plus children in neonatal care, and without oxygen, without electricity, their care, patient care, is being adversely impacted.
So we've actually already notified, we've asked for patients to evacuate.
Excuse me.
There are a few initiatives of different Arab countries, including Egypt, including the Arab Emirates, who have built field hospitals in the south area. I think that the best thing is to actually evacuate to the south area where they can actually get medical treatment. Now, this could have already ended, even 2 weeks ago, if Hamas only surrendered and return all of our hostages. We don't want to be there. We're not at war with the Palestinians, but we have to reach Hamas and make sure they can never do such atrocities and crimes against humanity ever again. Their leadership, time after time, on international news agencies have said that they will repeat that massacre if they have the opportunity. And so we have to defend our children. We have to defend our family. And the other thing is that we have to return the families and the children who are being kept as hostages by Hamas. So if Hamas won't use Palestinians as human shields, if Hamas won't use hospitals and schools and areas with dense population as some of their bases, some of their ammunition bunkers, this won't happen. Those sites won't happen. But unfortunately, Hamas doesn't care about Palestinians. Hamas doesn't care about Palestinian children. They see them as a mean for their goal, which is the destruction of Israel. And so, unfortunately, we are faced with the only option we can, and it is to defend our country, to defend our family and our children, and do anything possible to return our hostages home.
When the Israeli Defense Forces went in, Ms. Haskell, we were told that one of their primary objectives was to rescue hostages. Hostages that we were told were perhaps in the basement of the Al-Shifa Hospital being kept as a human shield. Now that the Israeli Navy SEALs have moved in and they're hunting from room to room, is what we are being told, have any of the hostages been recovered so far?
Well, we are very hopeful that we will be able to return all of them. I mean, try and think about it. They are holding 240 children, women, elderly. Some of them they have already executed. Yesterday, a young girl, 19 years old, was executed by Hamas. We have no time. We have to go in there and do anything possible to bring back our children, our women, our grandparents back home safely.
Okay, but the hospital, we were told, also has the Hamas command and control structure in the basement and a maze of tunnels. What has been found? Has that command and control structure been dismantled or destroyed as yet? Any information that you could share with us?
So not yet. Unfortunately, while Palestinians suffer because Hamas is using them as human shield, because Hamas is actually shooting people who are trying to flee from the north to the south, their leadership is actually overseas in Qatar, in luxury hotels with private jets flying from place to place. You see them in the luxury of those hotels while their people are suffering. They know that, but they don't care about it. And so, unfortunately, we have not yet dismantled the leadership of Hamas, but we will do anything possible to make sure that Hamas is completely eliminated. This is a terrorist organization that has vouched to murder our people. That's their goal. And what they did on the 7th of October will never be forgotten, and we need to make sure that it will never happen again.
But how could this terrorist organization, as you put it, Ms. Haskell, make a maze of tunnels and concrete tunnels with proper concrete roof, rooms, air conditioning, ducting right under the nose of the Mossad and the Shin Bet? How could the Israeli intelligence agencies not know? And it's not just one tunnel, apparently 500 kilometers, 1,300 tunnels. How could it happen, and how could Israel not know?
Well, Hamas is actually, for years, has been building tunnels and bunkers under schools, under hospitals, under dense populated area. We know that, they know that, all the Palestinian Gazan citizens know that. I mean, this is a very wide channel of tunnels and bunkers that they have built for themselves. You know, in the northern area, when we entered one of the area, there were about 80% of the houses with booby traps. It means that if you open the door, the entire place explodes. Now, we've seen some of these tunnels going from some of their headquarters as well and to underneath the hospitals. We have many footages that actually document that, to show the world all these proofs of what Hamas is actually doing with the facility, with the aid, and with the money that they're getting from the rest of the world.
Okay. For a moment, I want to return to that question of hostages. There was some conversation about Hamas seeking a ceasefire, a 5-day pause, and returning between 70 to 100 Israeli hostages in return for 100 Palestinian people in Israeli jails to be returned. Is this confirmed? What can you tell us about this, Ms. Haskell?
Well, we want a ceasefire, and the ceasefire will happen as soon as they bring back all of our hostages and surrender. I mean, we were at a ceasefire before the 7th of October. Time after time, Hamas is the one that is, breaking those ceasefires. And so we understand that with this terrorist organization, we cannot negotiate. I mean, what they want for the ceasefire is to accumulate more weapons and to go into more attacks. Our troops are already in Gaza. Our people are waiting for us to liberate them. There are children, Kfir, who is a 10-month-old baby. A baby is being held by those terrorists. We have no time to give them time to collect more ammunition, to go on more attacks. We want our children back. We want our family back. We want our grandparents back. What would a ceasefire help for? It won't help to the Palestinian people, because Hamas is stealing their food, it's stealing their medical supplies, it's stealing their petrol for their own use. And it's not going to help Israel, because it's only going to put at risk our troops and the hostages that we want to bring back home.
So are you saying no ceasefire whatsoever for 5 days, even if they return 70 to 100 of the hostages? And what does this mean? You say your troops are already in the Gaza Strip and in Gaza City. Does that mean they'll carry out their operations all the way to Rafah, to the Egyptian border, to clear Hamas, or will remain restricted to Gaza City? Because there are 1 million plus, maybe more civilians on top in South Gaza, and the Hamas terrorists could be underneath, in that city, beneath the city.
Well, what we are going to do is what's needed to eliminate Hamas, and what is needed to bring back our family members, our children, and our grandparents back home with us. Anything that we need to do, we will do. Israel is, the Israeli army work by the Army Code, the ethical code, and by the Geneva Convention, and by laws of war. We obey them, and at time, yes, it does tie our hands behind our back, but we are human, and we understand the pain of the Palestinians. We don't enjoy to see it. We don't want that. We don't want war. I mean, we are heartbroken from those sides of the Palestinian children as well. But Hamas, unfortunately, doesn't care for their lives. it doesn't care for the Palestinian lives as much as it doesn't care for the lives of Israeli children. And so what do we need to do?
Okay.
What else can we do?
Sharon Haskell for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. Israeli forces are inside Gaza City, but I, for the moment, want to shift focus to the other big story we're tracking here on India Today. The United States is all geared up for that crucial meeting between US President Joe Biden and the Chinese President Xi Jinping. There are high expectations in the US ahead of this meeting. The summit in North California would be at an undisclosed location, and that's because of security reasons. The two leaders will discuss a range of issues and some very thorny issues, including the war between Russia and Ukraine, and of course this crisis in West Asia. Joe Biden, we are told, would like to see China use its influence with Iran to prevent this Israel-Hamas war from escalating and widening to other areas, especially with Lebanon, Syria and Yemen. He's likely to press Xi Jinping to use his leverage to stop North Korea from supplying weapons to Russia to fuel that other war between Russia and Ukraine. The two leaders are also expected to agree on a number of other issues to curb the flow of fentanyl, for example, from China to the United States of America, and reopen military communication channels that Beijing had closed in response to then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan last year. The Chinese President Xi Jinping, he arrived in San Francisco ahead of this meeting with Joe Biden to attend the Summit of Asia-Pacific Leaders. Joe Biden said on the eve of this much anticipated meeting with China's President Xi Jinping that the goal for these talks is to try and get US-Chinese communications back on track. So we will continue to track this story, but that is all I have for you on India First. Many thanks for watching. Coming up next is the Battle of Champions with Nikhil Naz. Stay with us.